this is a purpose-built VM. It's a Windows 10 VM, and there's nothing unusual about it. It's what you would see day in, day out. And what I've done is put some data on the computer, so it's completely isolated. Is this, by the way? It's perfectly safe. And I've created a customer folder, and then within the customer folder, there's some data, and that's all there is to it, really. There isn't much more on this computer. What I've got here is the dreaded ransomware strain. This is the WannaCry strain that hit the NHS. It's the exact same one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to execute it now. So I'm some user that's gone, oh, what's that on my desktop? And I'm going to go, okay, oh, I know what it is. And I'm going to run it. So once it's run, the first thing that we'd see is some extra files appearing on the desktop like that. So you're thinking, oh, that's a bit strange. What's going on there? So you may do a bit of poking around. You might think, oh, what if I just clicked on? I'll go into where my data is. If you look at the data here, you can actually see that the data has started to become encrypted. And one of the giveaways is essentially this extension that gets put on the end of each file, and it's just a nice way of the attacker letting you know that your data has been encrypted. Now, the one, we could probably leave that demo there, but what we really wanted to do is show you the actual ransom note that appears, and it's at that part that gives you that real sense of, I've got a problem here, because the whole desktop background gets taken over. For that to appear, the ransomware process needs to run, which it is doing now. And what the ransomware process needs to do is get to the end of the file system. And what it does, it makes sure that it's gone through the entire file system. It's encrypted everything that it can, at which point it thinks, okay, now I've done what I needed to do without being interrupted. I'm gonna put the ransom note up on the screen. If they were to put it up early, there'd be early indications that there's been compromise, and security teams could jump on it quickly. So the idea is, well, let's get everything encrypted first, and then we'll put the ransom note on the screen. So whilst it's doing that, we've just got a few kind of questions that we're going to go through. Have you got them, Laura, that we can kind of address?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Wayne?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so some questions. There's not any come through from the audience. So we do have a set of frequently asked questions that we get from our customers. So the first one that I'll put to the guys is, why would you not use the Microsoft version of SaaS backup?
I can take that one. So essentially, Microsoft have recently brought out their own backup solution for Office 365. It's priced in slightly different way than the Datto SaaS product, and it's per gigabyte of data. When you actually dig into it, you find that if you've got relatively large mailboxes, it's a lot cheaper to run the Datto version. You can also get longer retention on Datto as well. And the kind of final thing that we suggest is, well, if you're worried about Microsoft losing your data, then why would you put your backup data with Microsoft as well? Let's put it somewhere else in a different data center with a different vendor. So it's vendor agnostic.
Okay, thanks, Richard. And the next question is, why would you use our ransomware detection over Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is EDR, for example?
Yeah, so I mean, there's various different reasons, but one of the reasons being the fact that we've got the Datto RMM agent already running, and it hooks into that. And one of the real benefits of this is that it's lightweight, so it just runs and it offers that real-time protection, and it's a separate product to anything to do with Microsoft. So it's lightweight, it's easy to report into the Datto portal. We've got the integration that we need straight into our ticketing systems, into our RMM, and it just makes a real kind of seamless operation for our service desk to be able to work and act.
I think also it's probably worth mentioning, Wayne, that obviously Defender for Endpoint's a great product, but if you've not got business premium licensing, it's quite an expensive add-on, whereas this is quite a cheap additional product over and above Webroot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there's your final thing.
Yeah, right on cue there. Thanks for that, Richard. So Yeah, as we're talking there, again, not a great deal of data to get through on here, but it took a good few minutes to get through and do what it needed to do. And so it's changed the desktop, as we can see there. Obviously, an intentionally poor effort at making a high resolution image. It just looks awful, as you expect, and it's meant to. And then it produces this ransom notes. So at the bottom there, it's telling you that you need to use Bitcoin and you need to pay the ransom to this address. And in theory, when you do pay that, you will, you'll get your data back. But who knows? Who knows? It's anyone's guess. So that's the type of thing that you would see. And so a lot of people have heard of ransomware, but they've never actually seen it happen on a real computer in a real life situation. Like I say, we've got a purpose-built lab to enable us to do that, and we've tested and tested and tested this with the Datto product, and it's pretty good. And that's what we're going to show you next. Exactly the same setup, only this time I've included a bit more data, just so that the ransomware has got something to attack, and we can have a look at kind of before and after the ransomware has happened. So exactly the same, we've got the ransomware file here, the WannaCry infection here on the left, and then in here we've got quite a bit more data. I think there's about 10 gigs of data, something like that. So that's all in there, so you can see it's all intact just now. So if I go ahead, and so I'm just going to look down here, and you can see, so people that are with us, so our customers, obviously people in the room, are familiar with this. The Seriun icon, meaning the Datto agent is running and it's connected and everything's good. So if we were to execute the ransomware again and let it go, what we'll find here is that the same happens. There's some files appear on the desktop, and off it goes and starts to encrypt data. Going back to what I was saying a little bit earlier on, how encryption is a perfectly normal process, and it is now. And then what I said was encryption of consecutive files over a period of time, and a large amount of files needs to happen before the agent detects what's going on. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. So if we jump into the first folder, we can see the data, it started to be chewed up, and we can see that we've got the extension there, exactly what we've seen last time. So it just works its way through, encrypting file by file. So in contrast, if we were to go to, I don't know, let's look at the last folder, because ransomware works in alphabetical order. So it'll always start off with the accounts department, and I've put payroll here as well. So if we look in the payroll department, and I don't know, if we scroll down to the last customer, what we should find, I hope for this demo, that the infection has not worked its way through, and it's not got to that stage just yet, because it's working away in the background, doing its best to encrypt the data as quickly as possible, but it's just not been that quick. So if I jump back to the desktop, all the data like it was before I started the process last time. So I'm just going to jump in, just have a quick look, make sure the data is intact before we start it again, which it is. What I was just about to do is check this folder, and it is intact. So if we just check and make sure I can see that device online, and I'll run it again. Okay,
It looks fine now.
yeah. All right, so we're good to go. Let's just run the file again. So what I'm going to do in a second is, once the ransomware has been stopped, which it has been stopped, it gets stopped relatively quickly, but it takes a few minutes for the workflow on the Datto side of things to pick up the alert. Once the alert comes into Datto, we can see it there in the dashboard, and it tells us that ransomware has been detected. So that's the bit that I'm going to show you in just a second.
It's worth noting we haven't got the ransom note now because the ransomware process has been stopped on this machine.
Yeah, so I shall just share it with you now. Just make sure I get the right one. So this is the dashboard that we would work from, and we've got a special dashboard here, ransomware, that we have like a wallboard for this. And if any ransomware is detected using the agent like we just seen there, then it feeds into this dashboard along with every other customer that's being monitored for ransomware, and it'd sit in this queue. If we were to click into it, we can see a little bit more about what's gone on, and it'll probably tell us that the process has been killed, and we can basically continue with our follow-up actions. So if we were to look back on the VM, the one that was compromised, we'll see. Let's just see if we can get into another folder a little bit further in. And you can see there that's the payroll one, so that's quite a way on. Let's do it. Let's put a bit of a test on it.
Jump in the accounts one, see what it's got, see how far it got.
If we look at the customer 2 in accounts, then let's see if it got to that one. No. So we see there, I mean, it's acted pretty quickly there. So if we go into customer 1, I would imagine most of that would have been done. If you have a look, no. So even there's a few files that it's not managed to encrypt. So you're talking how many files are in there?
30 files.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know, maybe encrypted 20 odd files, and then the agents kicked in, and we don't see the ransom notes like Richard said just a second ago. The process is killed, and if the process has been killed, the ransom note, the process doesn't get to the end and it doesn't produce the ransom note. So yeah, okay, there's a little bit of work for the IT guys to do. The IT guys now need to recover 20 files that went missing, but when you've got a computer here with 10 gigs of data, it's a small price to pay, really. So you can see there it is very effective, and it's effective relatively quickly as well.